Welcome to the Tokenomics DAO podcast, where we explore everything tokenomics related, ranging from deep dives on the tokenomics of the newest protocol to demystifying the nuance of building a successful token ecosystem. Our goal is to bring awareness to the importance of tokenomics and the crucial role it plays in defining the success of a protocol, helping make tokenomics relevant for everyone, builders and investors alike. I'm your host, Flo, joined by my co-hosts, Jason and or Lovis. Welcome to the podcast.
So today we're going to talk about all the things that have been happening in the DAO. We haven't had one of these in a while, I think, and there's a lot going on. We've been so busy that we actually kind of slacked on our usual podcast recording schedule for the last few months, I want to say.
We haven't done one of these for a long time, yeah.
But every now and then we get feedback from people that discover the podcast, and they say that it's amazing and they love it, and that they they're like, oh, I'm on episode 9, I'm going to keep listening. And we're like, oh, I guess we need to really keep producing these, because not many, but some people really like them. So
yeah,
and
it's small, but yeah. So I guess just give an update, right? Maybe have a casual chat about what we're doing would be cool.
Yeah,
nothing in particular. Yeah.
I know. Well, what comes to mind? So I mean, there's lots of things, right? Lots of things going on, and I don't really know how long we haven't done one of these, so it's really hard for me to say what happened since last time. But I think we just have a couple of things that we're currently working on, some changes that were made recently, and some new stuff that we're thinking, or maybe it's not even new stuff we're thinking about, but stuff we're thinking about in a new way, maybe. Something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Generally, I feel like, with all this stuff going on in the overall crypto space, if I just zoom in on Tokenomics DAO, I don't even see that there's anything happening outside, right? You don't even, stuff just seems to be going on as normal. We've got people coming in, they're like, hey, this is really cool. We've got interesting discussions happening in the Discord, and that's even been increasing, I feel. Like people just coming and I remember in the beginning, I was always the one replying to the questions that people had. Now I don't even do it anymore. I'm just which is probably not so good, but there's always someone else who jumps in.
I mean, and for me as well, we're still there, right? Just, I know you were usually answering questions within 10 minutes. People were like, when does he sleep?
Never.
But yeah, it is really cool to see that in all the different channels, people are, if they answer all the standard questions that people have all the time, but also there's a lot of good discussion going on different topics. It's super fun to see that it has a life of its own.
Yeah. And we don't have to do it, right? There's just other people that come there just to exchange knowledge, which is pretty cool. Yeah. No, I like that. And then, we've done a lot of these events. I guess maybe you can talk about this whole education stuff that you've been doing. They've been pretty well attended, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So education was kind of there in some way. And in a way, every content we produce is educational, but it's a lot of it is very topic specific, and it's very deep, and so you need a baseline of knowledge for it to all make sense in a way. That was kind of the thought. And then I think in April and May, somebody had approached us and was like, hey, guys, would you guys consider teaching if we arrange everything else? And then this particular opportunity actually didn't materialize, but Flo and I had made a curriculum draft because of it, just in a week. And then I kept thinking about it, and I was like, it seems I feel like it was time to produce some content for it and create this education series. And I just basically used the main 5 chapters, I think, that we had outlined there already beginning of the year. And just had calls on Discord that we then had actually held on Zoom and recorded, and they were each like between 1 and 2 hours long, and went through all the basic concepts, like started from what's a cryptocurrency, why token, what's the benefits of tokens, and worked all the way to like modeling and simulation stuff. And of course, along the way, like walked through all the different tools that we've created in the DAO, mostly like derivatives from consulting projects we've done, just to make ourselves more efficient. And so, you know, we give all these tools away for free anyway, but I think they're, you know, so like, but, you know, taking the time to explain them also within the course makes sense. We do it kind of anyway, but people don't always know where to find all the things. So, you know, this way it's like all in one place. That's kind of the idea. So if you want to level up from just like kind of thinking tokenomics, oh, what's that, sounds cool, to having like a entry level understanding of it, then this is like the place to find it, and find it quickly. And then, you know, several people attended those recording calls, and then beyond that, there was kind of people were posting about, well, is there a study group to go along with it? Like not really go along with the course, but like, okay, now that we know stuff, like what's next? Like, and yeah, that kind of came about organically, and had, I don't know, like scheduled the first call and had like 30 people RSVPing, and like 20 showed up and were interested.
It's a really good
which
ratio.
is a very high ratio. Usually on Discord, it's like, no, not like that. Usually it's like 20 people say yes, and then 2 show up or something like that. So, and so, yeah, we're trying to find a format for that. It's well, we have an idea of what it could be. It's like people just show up and say, hey, I'm interested in this topic. I'll research it. Like, who wants to join? And then like 2 weeks later, we have the next call, and it's kind of like an open mic night idea. So it's basically, we do an hour, but like people can sign up for like a 10-minute slot or something like that. And then it's like, hey, this is what I was looking into, and this is what I found. And it can be one person or several people, and it just general tokenomics research they will share, and then have discussion over it. And then from there, they can either go and spend more time on it, or they can go to a new topic.
Are we recording these?
Good question. No, did not record the last one, but we should.
Maybe we should. It sounds really
yeah.
interesting. Sounds like,
yeah.
Yeah. You never know. Like, but if we kind of add a good title to it, maybe the agenda or the stuff that's been talked about, then people kind of could choose if they think it's good.
Yeah. And so the last one we had last week, it was really cool. So actually, one of the guys that showed up, he was like ultra prepared, like more prepared than I thought. So he had like, it was just like 2 or 3 slides, and shared the screen, and just, it was about like narratives and tokenomics. And so the idea was like, well, look, you're telling a story, like whatever you're building, right? If it's a DAO or product or protocol, whatever, you're telling a story, and like, how is this narrative, how's the story reflected in your tokenomics? And just some high level discussion about that. And it was super interesting. I mean, it was like a good like 20-30 minutes. We talked about that, and it was just, everybody there was just like nodding their heads and like, yeah, cool, you know. Like, and I think it's fun to like, it's like a way to connect with other people who are like learning about this stuff and like interested in it. And it's like a structured format, but it's really open for all kinds of topics. And so some people come and they think they don't know enough to really say anything, so they're just in listening mode. But then hopefully over time, more people will feel comfortable and step up. And I always encourage everybody to like, he's like, oh, this is so basic, I don't think you guys want to talk about this. I'm always like, nah, the basic stuff, like understanding that, well, it's so important, because like a lot of stuff that like you and Mason do, for example, is like honestly over my head too. But I can make sense of it because I can think it through from the first principles. And it's like, well, if I know these things for sure, you know, and then step by step you walk your way through the logic, you're like, makes sense, you know. And I think that's the important part to pick up, right? It's not, because you can then you can go and analyze things on your own, right? And so I think ultimately that's the skill that we want to help people acquire, is this being able to think this stuff
you always
through.
need like a good foundation, right? Otherwise it doesn't make any sense to
Yeah.
like leap into these complex topics if you don't even if you don't even have the basics. So that's yeah, I think that's really important. And I always see, or like more and more I see us as Tokenomics DAO as this, like, we try to reach these like 90%. If you are the 10% that's looking for the most sophisticated modeling algorithms or whatever, then yeah, we might have people in the community that can do that, can help with that. But I see us more as like approaching the people that have have needs more at the beginning of their journey. And I think with that, we're also hopefully addressing a larger group of people as well, right? Because I think there's so many people starting to design and launch tokens, and they don't even have a clue about supply and demand, and basic economics, maybe even basic business. And I think those are the people that need help, really.
I agree. And that's and even just creating the awareness and sensitivity to that, what you just said, is, I think, also one thing we do, because it's like so many projects launch with a token and they don't have a business model, they don't have a product, and then it's like, oh well, the token is the product, and it's like, no, like, I'm sorry, but the token is never the product. And like,
wrong answer.
and inevitably they all melt down, right? It might be fun for a little while, but it doesn't, and then and so I guess we're doing the making everything sustainable route, and because we believe that this is that's the way to go. But then ultimately maybe the other guys make more money, I don't know. But at least we stay out of jail, right? So it's,
that's also important, right?
That's very important, right? There's not enough. Time is ultimately the most valuable resource, and if you spend it behind bars, then it's just not as much fun.
That's not so good.
But so the education stuff, it's really fun. And I think there's a lot, like, I just enjoy, people getting together and learning, and no idea how far we'll take it. Maybe probably more courses eventually, but I don't know right now. It doesn't feel like it's really needed. Working on kind of getting more distribution out of the course, been doing the stuff on Twitter to just also teach basic concepts, and it's been working pretty well. So in November we've sold like almost a course a day, so it's it's
pretty good. Nice. Okay. And then now the sessions that we currently have, they're like every other week.
So the study group is every other week, and it's just scheduled on Discord, and anybody's welcome. There's a Google Sheet link. You can just, if you have a topic idea you want to throw it on there. If not, you can also just come and listen, or you can also come and join someone else's research journey, kind of a thing. And then, I don't know, there's a thought that maybe we can also roll this into Tokenomics Hub, but I mean, this is a topic we're going to get into here soon. We'll see.
Let's talk about that. I had a really an interesting conversation with Mason and Pablo yesterday, and we were sort of talking about how to weave in reputation into the Tokenomics Hub. Maybe we can get to that. But like generally, Tokenomics Hub, have we done a podcast about it or talked about it at all? The idea has been like floating around forever, but I think like now it's become quite tangible in that we want to like get to the next, whatever that is, evolutionary step of the Tokenomics 101 article, right? So we've done all these articles. It's been part of our DAO onboarding proof of work process, central to our Substack, to YouTube, to Twitter, right? The content that has worked best has been that, like this Tokenomics 101 stuff, consistently. And we just felt, and the Tokenomics one is this long form article that describes what the protocol does, how the token is involved, and all of that, and then a take from our side. So we felt like the next evolutionary step would be cool if we had all of this available in like one place, one portal, so you can you can go and have a look if you're interested in finding out what the tokenomics of the sandbox is, or balancer. You can go in and and find that out in a really easy, structured way without having to read through a super long article. You can still do that. We're linking to all the other content, but you can kind of go in and get like the most basic understanding of how the token works. Find out about the utility, about how they create demand, how they create value, how that value is captured. We have like a scoring mechanism that we've kind of thought of, and including the diagram. We've got some info on supply and the vesting. So I sort of see it as this next step of the Tokenomics 101 article. We've built a prototype of the portal, of this portal. We've kind of launched it or announced it to our internal community to get some feedback. And now I think this or next week, we're going to show it to more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ask for more
And
feedback, right?
just-
I mean, ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we've always been doing, right? Is like this small iterative steps. We haven't gone out and like went to work on something new and then introduced it a year later. So it's always been like these small steps. So I think this is another cool example of that, right? Like taking something that we've seen that has worked and people liked, like the Tokenomics 101 article, and turning that into like a, I hope, better format. Yeah. So you can go to tokenomicshub.xyz and check out the prototype.
Yeah. And so not only evolving the Tokenomics 101 article, but in a proof of work process, we had a lot of people that got started, and because the kind of the bar is pretty high, right? The quality bar. And so we would there was a problem for a long time, and we've optimized it several times. But even just draft of these articles takes a lot of time, and then helping them to edit it. I mean, you can spend 10-20 hours a week on that, easy peasy.
Yeah.
And that's just too much, right? Nobody has the bandwidth to accommodate that. And then at the end, an article might still not be that good, right? So it's a lot. So we introduced this threshold test, which basically people just fill out an outline, which is kind of like the first step or two in writing this 101 article. And by submitting the outline, then we started to say, hey, this looks good, proceed, or this doesn't look good, you can stop. Just preserving everybody's time, right? And but the sad thing about this is a lot of people start, but they don't pass the threshold, but they're still interested and they still want to learn more, and we want them to learn more, and we also don't want all these like outlines to go to waste, right? So in a way, the Tokenomics Hub, the way it presents the info, the tokenomics info, is a lot more like bullet point style. It's less long form articles. So the hope is that we'll be able to pull in more people doing this work and getting a lot more value out of the stuff that so far would have gotten rejected, and then nobody would have really ever seen it.
Yeah. And then if they still want to produce a long form article, they could still do that.
Yeah.
That could still be part of it. Yeah. And so
yeah,
that's from the people that create the stuff, but I think also from the side of consuming it, like sometimes just reading through a 2,000 word article is just a long time. And with people with TikTok attention spans, they can't deal with that. Maybe we should, people have been telling me to do TikTok, but I don't know how. Maybe that's something worth trying.
It's hard, dude.
But
it's hard. So I tried. I was like, I tried to find a format where I just like talk about basic stuff. I thought it's very difficult because I also hate looking at myself in the screen. I think I look stupid and I sound dumb. And then to talk about this stuff like naturally, like where it's not scripted and you're like not reading something, is very, very difficult for me.
Yeah.
So, but you should try it. I mean, if you can do it off the cuff, then just go for it.
No, thanks.
But I think it's very difficult.
I like the long form format, and I also like consuming long form stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
So I'm fine with that. But anyway, like, if I go to the hub, the prototype, it's just like the structure is sort of
You can share a
better,
screen
right?
if you want.
Yeah, I can. Let me share this here.
Yeah.
I think it's just like the structure is just a lot better, because in the, I mean, what we did, we had the, when somebody does a proof of work, we have this template. You said that we have got the threshold test, that's true. But then once they pass that threshold test and have done a diagram, we give them this template to fill out of the article. And they go through that, and it kind of has all these different questions on, like, okay, what is the token's utility, what drives demand, and let them analyze that. And I found myself, like, when people were submitting these proof of works, I would immediately go to that section. I would go like, okay, because that's what I want to know. I want to know, like, how do they manage to capture the value that they create? How does the token really tie into the business that they're doing? That's kind of what I was interested in. And I thought it'd be much cooler if we could extract that information in a much more concise and short format and present it here. And this is sort of what it is, right? You'll have your protocol and then different categories, right? Like this, we called it token strength. It's, yeah, some rating of how we think how well the token is designed and ties into what they do. Some basic stats, right? Our take. We've had this investment take that we've done for the Substack. We've also included that in that. Some timeline on how they change stuff. So it's really, for people creating this, I think it's easier, and also for people consuming it because of the structure. And then if you're like, okay, this sounds like super interesting, I want to do more, then there's more links, right? You can read the full article, watch the video, all of that. But I think I see this like as a cool intro summary, and then hopefully at some point there'll be hundreds, thousands of protocols listed here, right? If we can turn this into a community thing, because currently we are a community and lots of people are interested in this stuff, in like creating it, but also in consuming it. And if this can be that platform where people can use it to get a better education about how tokens work.
Yeah.
Investors for investment purposes, builders for building their own, right? They'd be interested in how others have designed their token, how others have used their utility. We get that we get that asked a lot from like clients or people reaching out, like, how do others build their utility, and how successful has that been, stuff like that. And this can hopefully be, yeah, that place where people can quickly find that out.
Well, if we get big enough, then protocols will want to rank highly on the token strength, right? And then it becomes an automatic question, like, oh, what categories do they look at? How do they evaluate them? And so, like, they will reverse engineer a higher ranking, which in turn will make their tokenomics better, right? So that would be great.
We're thinking big, yeah.
And then from the investor perspective, it'll be interesting to see how the rating correlates to price performance. Or, I mean, this is an evolving thing, right? So I think for me, it starts with like, okay, as an investor, like, ideally I don't want to fall into any traps, like stay away from the rug pulls and stuff like that. And I think that tokenomics is like the indicator to avoid these pitfalls. And then it goes beyond, of course, like eventually you're like, well, how does tokenomics correlate to price performance? I mean, that's really big, right? And there's so many factors that matter. But at least we're trying to make it all transparent and clear and quick. You can quickly form an opinion on this platform. So even if it's not all there spelled out for you, at least all the information is supposed to be there, so you can make up your own mind. And then turn it into something more like a Wikipedia or GitHub, right? So that people can also comment, and they can also say, hey, there's a citation missing, or, oh, actually stuff has changed, like this needs an update. And so I think that's also super exciting, that we'll have like a front end for people to also have interaction on, and help this database, this body of knowledge evolve over time. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think like that's really where the community comes in, right?
Yeah.
So if people go through this and we make it easy for them to suggest changes or say like, hey, this isn't up to date anymore, this should be changed, then they can quickly flag that and do that. Maybe they get something for it. That could be quite cool if we establish a process for that. Yeah, that'd be super nice, right? And then rope in what we do with clients, maybe like, you know, a lot of the projects that we currently do with clients are reviews, right? So they have created something, some sort of light paper, maybe they used our tokenomics design framework, whatever, and they approach us with that and say, well, yeah, I think it's pretty cool, what do you guys think about it? So they might want to get someone who has spent some time on any of these different protocols that are similar to review it, poke holes in it, and maybe then after that give his sort of like stamp of approval, saying like, this sounds okay. And so this sounds okay could be translated into token strength, and we could maybe put that thing, then this token strength, into the tokenomics hub. So a client doing a review, maybe that is like the end result, right? That whoever wants a review would end up in this tool here. That could be something cool as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of these kind of ideas that we have going into it. And then
beyond, right, the reputation, you mentioned it kind of in the
Yeah.
beginning, you just had a conversation about that. So you
yeah,
high level, right? We get a lot of people approaching us that ultimately want to work in Web3. They're not necessarily coders, so they're like, oh, for a long time I also thought, oh, if you want to work in Web3, you need to know how to write code, and I think it helps for sure. But I think in tokenomics it's becoming pretty clear that this is becoming kind of its own field that doesn't necessarily require you to know how to code, but instead you need to understand these behavioral economics, tokenomics things.
yeah. And so, yeah, I guess I for that, you know, maybe about my story, right? If I don't have an economics degree, like maybe half of it mixed with IT. So I didn't, yeah, I've got no background in this. So the way I started was I was curious about how this stuff works, and coming from the software industry, I started to create these diagrams, and I think and with that tried to make sense and explain it, and then I started to write articles about it. So I like did more and more articles, and by the time I had like 10 or 15 articles published, I was lucky enough that people were reading the stuff, and then they reached out and said like, hey, you've spent so much time studying this field, would you mind consulting us, right, or working through our token with us? Would you mind helping us with that? And that's kind of how it came about. And I see, right, then when we started Tokenomics DAO, we kind of took this on into a group thing. It wasn't only me writing the articles, it was us now, a group of people writing these articles and establishing this reputation, a proof of work to the outside, saying like, hey, we published so many pieces on protocols, analyzing them. Make up your own mind if we think we know what we're doing by reading our stuff. And if you like it, then yeah, work with us. And I think this could be something where we could bring that together, like this tokenomics hub, where people that want to work in the field or want to build up a reputation in the space, they can go and analyze different protocols, publish them here, and be listed as the author. So I've kind of mocked this up. So if you go to the Tokenomics Hub XYZ prototype page and you select a protocol, you will see the author. And then you can click on see profile, and there's like a dummy profile page that I did, which on the one hand shows kind of like the different categories you might have worked on, which could be interesting, right? So if you have done a lot of work on metaverse or games or DeFi or DAOs, that might be interesting for some people, right? For clients, people that talk with you, whatever. So you're somewhat of an expert because you've worked in that field. And it just lists what you've done, right? Here it just lists all the articles that I've written or that I've published to the Tokenomics Hub, sort of as my proof of work. But then it also has kind of like we played around with this NFT platform Rep3, and yeah, we're still working on that. We like it. You can mint an NFT that is then soul bound, sort of. You can't transfer it, at least, and it has certain attributes that you can specify. So we're thinking of, like, for every successfully completed consulting project that we, the DAO, thinks was successfully completed, and the client was also happy, we can issue something, an NFT, and that NFT can then list it in your profile here. So people who work on this tokenomics hub, right, they can start by building out their reputation by maybe creating content. Then clients might be interested in what they're doing, might book them to help them on something, right? So maybe someone has written a ton of articles, content on liquidity bootstrapping pools or something like that. And then clients come and ask them for their opinion on it. And they can show their reputation in the field by that. And I think that'd be something cool where we could take this to, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes this like content sharing, but you also get something for it, and that is your reputation. And the reputation that you could build up will help you in perhaps making a living in the field, in the space, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it becomes like a platform for discovery in a way, for the tokenomics itself, but then also for the people that create the content and have the know-how. So I think it's super cool because it's like this multi-sided platform idea that we have. And then, you know, you and I both have like product background as well, and kind of the pain in the butt with multi-sided business models is always that you have to start them from zero, right? Like that cold start problem is kind of like in any marketplace, you always have to, you need both sides, right? You need supply and demand. And I think that's kind of the reason, like that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this, not just because I think the idea is great, but also because I think that Tokenomics DAO is like we are the ones who can launch this. I don't think there's really anybody else who can launch this right now, because we have the community. They're currently not doing exactly this, right? But they're doing very similar things, and we can easily kind of ask them to pivot. And I think that's ultimately why this is it's like such an amazing opportunity also for the DAO.
Yeah, yeah. And we're turning the proof of work
Yeah.
process, so the onboarding thing, towards this, so that everybody who wants to become a contributor, they'll go through this, publish one of these content pieces in here, and yeah, can then with that build up the reputation. The majority of the other stuff is we're still defining, still working through that, right? Whether we list articles, if there's like a level system where we say, okay, you become a contributor if you've done one piece, but you can only join consulting if you've done 3 pieces or something like that, right? Then that's when somebody will take you on to do like shadow on a project.
Oh.
And yeah, then we've got this idea with the hive mind that could fit into that, right? Hive mind is this project, or this idea that oftentimes we have people that just want to discuss or brainstorm ideas with certain others who have expertise in a certain field. And so if we had this proof of work reputation and classified them into these different groups, we could just allow other people to search through that and go through that and find people who have the expertise that they need, contact them, maybe schedule a session with them. Right. So those are kind of like all these ideas that are flowing around that we're just trying to build into this.
Yeah. And then people essentially that have created something on like a built-in incentive to go and share it, right? Because especially if it helps them to build their own reputation and they have an author credit on here, then it's like, hey, everybody kind of selfishly optimizes for promoting themselves. This will in turn also promote the Tokenomics Hub and the DAO. And I think that's like how we kind of take this whole content flywheel that we've been building, that's I think is working. But I think this is how we can like kick it into even higher gear to get people to like by self-promoting, they also promote the community. I
Yeah.
think that's like, that sounds like a good idea to me. Like it might blow up, hopefully, but probably, you know, if we build now in the bear market, hopefully nobody pays attention to us until the point where we have like a really good product, and then the next cycle hits and it blows up.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think like this is relevant in like any cycle, right? Maybe not so much for investors, but specifically for builders. There's still so many projects approaching us on like, hey, we're building this really, and nobody really talks about what the current price of whatever is, right? They're just still interested in building out their stuff, and so are we. So yeah.
For sure. No, yeah, that's true. It's an industry, and there's cycle highs and lows, but for most people in it, I don't think it really matters that much.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
what else?
still in prototype, but we'd really love people's feedback. There's this leave feedback button here, and send us something, whatever you like, stuff that you want to have added, protocols, fields, content that we should look into, whatever. We are really keen on finding out what you guys think about it, and how you would like to use this type of platform.
And then, I mean, because there's so many platforms where you can research all kinds of coin metrics, right? Coin market cap, CoinGecko, Masari, Certec, they all have like very, I mean, some are better than others, but they have a lot of very similar data points, I would say. And usually the tokenomics section, if they have one at all, is like very little. And there's like, oh, it's allocation. Here's the pie chart for allocation. It's like, well,
pie chart,
there's a lot more to it, right? Than to tokenomics than just that. And so also think that maybe we can just having this all in a database and making it accessible via APIs might also be something cool we can do. And just and endless ideas, right? Surrounding the hub. So
exactly.
Very excited.
No, that's really, currently we're just like fiddling around with this. So and that's also something for our contributors, people who kind of want to join us. We're ramping up on that side. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, reach out in the proof of work channel. That's always stuff that we're interested in building. What else?
The education.
What else are we playing around with?
Study group. Reward rounds. It's, you know, you've built another tool. You've been like on a coding spree lately.
I'm having a lot of fun coding. I'm so amazed by the technology nowadays. How much easier it gets to build stuff. It's just crazy. And it's like, you know, on the one side, people are probably familiar with all these website builders. You just sign up, and then it's really easy to build a website without any coding. But at the same speed or at the same level, the side where if you do code, that's getting faster and more modular as well. So you clone a project that you think is really interesting, you deploy it, and it runs. Off you go, right? And then you want to have, like I did here, right? You want to have like a sign out mechanism where you can sign in with your wallet and stuff like that. There's a library for that, that you just include, configure it. It sounds simple, but sometimes you'll spend 2 days figuring out how to do it. But you just get this stuff and you stick it all together, and then it works in a really nice way. It's a lot easier nowadays. Than it was.
So quick thought, right? So this is what we talked about before we hit record. But so the tokenomics hub wants to be something like a GitHub. I mean, that's one aspect of it, right? But it's like GitHub is like the ultimate proof of work for
developers.
What did I say?
No, I think you said that.
Developers, And so in a way, the tokenomics hub kind of wants to be the proof of work for tokenomists, tokenomicists. So
Yeah.
that's so cool, right? And who knows what else we can then build on top of this. But yeah, anyway, so you were saying the it's becoming easier and easier to deploy code and build stuff like
Yeah.
like at scale, essentially. Like that's insane, right? That's amazing.
It is. Yeah. So what I did is, yeah, we were kind of, as part of Tokenomics DAO, we've got this process of where we kind of, we got this, the flywheel thing. There's some podcast episodes on how the flywheel works, but basically the idea is that content creation is really important to what we do. So we want to keep doing that. So we reward content, and we don't want to pay salaries, or we don't want to put like a fixed bounty on a piece of content. Because I think like the incentives are a lot better if you do it after the fact that the piece of content has created and has been created, and you kind of compare it to the other pieces, right, to find out which maybe was the best piece that has been created. And so I think like that's sort of a cool process that we can that we've worked through and tried to establish. We used a tool called dwork for it. It's more of a Kanban project management tool, and we found it could do what we wanted, but it was like a bit complicated to configure because it's meant for so many other, lot more sophisticated steps. But basically what we do, right, we produce all this content. You can see it here. This is like all the stuff we've done in October, and you can see the type, right? We've done a couple of different tweets, podcasts, maybe community talks. We've done articles on Substack, and you can see the authors, right? I've done a bunch of things. Lovis has, Ennis has, Ariel. And then we assign a budget to it. That budget sort of comes from a portion of consulting, like a certain percentage that we make from consulting is allocated to this. And then, so now what the problem is, what we try to find out is these $2,000 that we have, how does that split up, distribute onto the authors of the different articles? And we want every contributor within the DAO to vote on that, right? We want everybody to have a say if they think that my thread on shares versus tokens was the best thread that we had that month, so it should have the biggest reward. And that's kind of how we do our reward rounds, right? We don't say for every tweet you get $200, but we do say at the end of the month, we're going to put 2,000 in, and then now we vote on which piece of content we think was the best, right? So everybody has 150 points to vote, essentially 10 per piece of content. And then if you click vote, you'll be able to vote for all pieces that you're not the author of. And we just started that earlier. I just announced it to the contributors that we just started it. Now everybody can go and vote. And on Sunday we're going to stop, and then we will be able to see who got the most votes, and that is then our distribution key for the $2,000. So we'll see those who got the most votes, they're going to get the largest percentage of the 2,000, and that then is the payout that we pay out at the end of the month. So it's a cool kind of democratic, fair process, and hopefully it doesn't take too long, right? Because you just have to go in, you go through the list, you check out what you think had the biggest impact or was the best content, assign your points, click on vote, and that's it, right? So it just ideally doesn't take you more than 5 minutes, and the tool then assembles all the info so that then we can run a payroll and pay everyone.
Yeah, so cool. And you have, so did you already build this in? That you pulled the content pieces from Notion, right? Because we keep a really good content calendar in Notion anyway.
Yeah, that's it. That's in. Yeah.
And so we're saving. So this tool is saving us all the work of having to create all the content pieces for reward, right? So now we can just import it. That's so nice, right? Because that's where we often got stuck. Because then it's like, how do we? Is this a subtask? Oh no, you forgot to mark it done. No, you can't reward it. And this is this just kept getting complicated. I think that's why you were like, screw this. I'm building us a tool.
Yeah. Yeah, then you had this great idea of using Notion, which essentially like, yeah, it saves us even more time because then we don't have to, because that's what everybody was doing. Then we're going to Notion,
Yeah,
like
it's all on there.
checking, oh, what did I create? Okay, I'll type it into here. So that's, yeah. And I feel like,
So nice. So nice.
yeah, I feel like a lot of communities will have that, some sort of problem like that, right? Where how do they actually distribute rewards? Are they going to pay a fixed salary? I feel like paying fixed salary in general in DAOs is quite hard because everybody works different. You know, some people work full time, others spend like 10 hours a week, others two, whatever, right? And everybody can do whatever they want. So it's hard to put like a salary to that. And we're all spread across the globe. So this seems like a really cool way and approach to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
To reward our people. Yeah.
I agree. And I mean, the numbers are small right now, right? But this can easily go up. So and we've had months where we've, well, I guess right now, is this the actual percentage or is this like a dummy amount? So I don't know, but we've had.
No, this is just some dummy amount that we had.
Yeah.
Because we had that the last couple of months, and so we're.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. And it's already, but it's already real money, right? Like even like, I mean, I forget what I've received, but like I think September or something got like $500 for. I did a bunch of stuff, podcast episodes, all kinds of. I mean, a lot of work goes into it, for sure. And if I calculate my hourly, then it's like, well, you know, it's not a lot. It's like $10 an hour, maybe, if that. But that's not the point, right? The point is we're doing this work anyway to promote the DAO, and because we follow our own curiosity, and it's just the work we do. And at the end, if you like write the one tweet that gets 2,000 likes and everybody votes for it because they're like, dude, that was really good, then maybe you end up making $500 for a tweet, and that's definitely good, right? That's good pay for.
Yeah. Try and get that somewhere else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I really like this model of rewarding people, because it caters for all. It caters for those who like create a lot of content, but it also caters for those that maybe have like this this like perfect timed tweet, great content, but they just do one, and maybe that gets like a lot of reward because the impact was amazing that they had with that.
And then also it kind of increases the incentive for everybody to also make sure that everybody who votes has seen what they've made, that they're aware of it, right? Because if you go on here and you're like, my internet just completely died and kicked me off, and I'm back.
I was just recorded standing here.
So I was just then rambling about how the incentives are aligned, right? Not only make the content, but also tell people about it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this whole future of work thing is a big thing that I know that I think you're a little bit more excited about it than me, but in general, I'm also excited about it. The how do people work together in this new DAO world, but even outside of DAOs, right? Because I think
it doesn't have to do anything with DAO, right?
The internet is tearing down the borders, right? So like people with skills can jump on the internet and they can create value around the world easily, right? This is already happening. It has been happening, but since the pandemic, I think it was like accelerated by a lot.
It's true.
And I think that just tools for this and like models for this will just become more and more the standard. And so
like rethinking how you generally pay, right? Because I don't think any corporation, or there's not a lot of corporations that would do anything like this,
right?
And so I kind of see there's a lot of benefits to this way of doing stuff. And so maybe as the next step, we're going to take this is for content. This is how we reward content, but then we also have something where we reward ownership, but also another percentage of the pay, right? A certain percentage. So if we're kind of internally, we're structured into these different teams. So we have a consulting team that takes care of signing up new clients. There's a publishing team and make sure that every 2 weeks we publish an article, podcasts are edited, things like that. And these teams, they also get some percentage at the end of every month off of the total revenue that we make. And that then it also happens in a sort of democratic process where we vote on what percentage share they should get of the overall thing. And so maybe that's also something we can add to this tool. That we don't only do content reward rounds, but it'd be simple, right? It's just it's a very similar concept, but instead of using a spreadsheet, we could maybe use something like that too. Yeah, just to vote here. Yeah, and so then we have like a whole DAO voting system. We tried Coordinate in the beginning, but Coordinate didn't really do it for us.
It's very basic.
Because it's only like on this peer-to-peer thing, but it's not based on value creation. And I think that's what our focus was, is like really how can we reward value creation? And I see this with so many clients that want to do projects with us. They have a similar problem, especially when they're trying to build some sort of content creation DAO thing. They all run into that same thing. How do we actually reward value creation? And I feel like tools like these can help. So yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Proof of value. That's
proof of value. Yeah.
Proof of work, proof of value. I think that's that's like the overall theme, right, of the stuff that we've been talking about and that we're creating. I think this super, super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think we've already been chatting for over an hour, so
have we?
Wow. I think so.
Great. Well,
yeah, good.
Is there anything else?
I think that's it for today, and then we'll jump on here again maybe in 2 weeks and do some more.
Let's do that. Yeah. Cover some more topics that we worked on. Nice.
Exactly.
All right.
All right. Well, as usual, get involved. Approach, join Discord, send email, or whichever way. I mean, Discord is really the best. It's the easiest way, but we're also, of course, on Twitter at Tokenomics DAO. All the DMs are read. All the things,
except for the bots.
If you want, yeah, well,
so
exactly.
Much worse with
so
Elon.
many bots. Elon needs to get going with his cleanup.
Yeah.
The education thing in here, the Tokenomics Hub, we'll link. Any feedback on all of those, always super welcome. And if you like listen to this and it's like, oh, I wonder if they're doing whatever, something else that you guys think is a good idea, then also let us know. Because often other people have phenomenal ideas and we can probably execute them. So please don't withhold the good feedback, and of course keep listening to this podcast.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
This podcast was not financial or tax advice. This channel is strictly educational and is not investment advice or a solicitation to buy or sell any assets or to make any financial decisions. This video is not tax advice. Talk to your accountant, do your own research. None of this is legal advice. This podcast is strictly educational. Talk to your lawyer.